So I got an NBC article here talking about how Bernie Sanders is actually winning black voters under a certain age. I can't believe it. This is what I've been saying for months. I finally get a story that's stating what I've been trying to point at. Okay? What the actual story is here that I've been yelling for months. And it took fucking NBC to get it right. Nobody else is picking this up properly. Okay? Here is the truth that I've been pointing out forever. Clinton slays amongst older people of all demographics, while Sanders dominates amongst young people. Okay? Now that's not, every media story points that out. But the little sneaky part here that people aren't getting is that young black people are not voting. Okay? So you look at these states, you look at these results and you see, geez, Clinton got, 74% of black people. Well, in those same states, chances are that she got about 70% of people over 42, right? Doesn't matter where you go, she slays with old people, okay? Especially when you get over 55. She gets 70% of white people over 55, 70% of Hispanics, 80% of blacks. Like, she just kills with old people, right? She slays. But she loses by similar margins to young people, right? So if you look at some of these states, I think Illinois is a good example of that, where she won something like 70% of people over 45 and lost 70% of people under 45. Now I'm throwing numbers around. I haven't checked, but there's a lot of states that are like that, where she wins by the same margins that she loses by once you get to a certain age. But then the media throws around this idea that she's winning huge majorities with blacks, which is true if you believe, the data. And I have I'm a little concerned about certain parts of it, but let's not get into that, right? But then when you look at the data, you see this huge disparity in the number of young whites versus the number of young blacks. If you look at the black population, you end up with twice as many older people voting. A much larger disparity. Whereas if you look at the white population, you see a smaller disparity. And so that creates this perception that he's doing poorly amongst blacks, or that Clinton is doing very well with blacks, when the actual truth is that there's a demographic that's missing in the voting. If young blacks were voting, then you would see a much more even result amongst whites and blacks. She may still have an advantage, but it wouldn't be so dramatic, right? So the actual story here is that young black people are not voting. And that creates an illusion that Sanders is doing poorly amongst blacks, but if young blacks were participating at the same levels as young whites, the numbers would be far closer. So that's the question. And it's a real question. It's a serious question. It's something the media should be asking. It should be a big part of the coverage, because that's a serious question. Why aren't young black people voting? Is it voter suppression? They don't have the right kind of ID? There's certainly a lot of laws in a lot of places in the states that will prevent you from voting unless you have a certain kind of identification. Is it disconnection? They don't have the time? A lack of awareness? I'm going to vote for suppression. And that's an incredible irony in the coverage. Because where all of the media is suggesting that she's winning because she's doing very well with blacks, the truth may actually be something closer to the idea that she's winning because there are laws in place that prevent black people from voting. Yeah.